Hello and welcome to the Simple Living with the Tom Chacks YouTube channel. So if you follow the channel, you can clearly see there hasn't been a lot of action lately, which is fine. We don't plan on expanding the channel as you would by putting up videos every week, but we do use it, I think, primarily for like a memory bank for me and Derek, and that's kind of the way we want to keep it. As you can see with the title of this video, it's a big one. It's very exciting and I'm very proud of how far we've come. There's some more exciting news as well that I'll tell you in a bit. Yeah, so I've struggled with the idea of putting up this video for a while. I've wanted to share because I am passionate about the idea of becoming debt-free and just freedom in general from kind of a system that is just programmed into us from a very early age, and that debt is a part of life and it's accepted, and yeah, just something you live with, and you go to work and you basically go to work to pay off all your debts that you have, and it's just this like entrapment of a system. And then no one shows you or tells you that there might possibly be another way. And that's why I wanted to make this video, is because I am passionate about sharing our story so that if it resonates with you, you can take these steps that I'm about to explain on how we did it. And I think that's very exciting. And there's some people, I just want to say a little disclaimer, there's some people who love making money and love spending money. And if that's you, then this video is probably not for you. We primarily focus on like minimalism and just reducing how much we use and how much we need, and self-sufficiency and growing our own food and that kind of world. So if that resonates with you, then you should continue watching. All right, so quick little background of the past year, let's say, of how we got to where we are right now. So at the May 2022, I wanted to expand our garden area, and we did beautifully. I found out about a program called woofing, where you basically it's like a labor exchange program. So people come in to help you, and then you provide them with housing. So they would stay in this building, which is a little studio, we call it. And then we would feed them, make sure they have everything they need. In return, they would give us some help. So we did that. We met some great people. And this is like a program that's offered all throughout the world. And you can vet them first and find out what kind of people they are, if they're safe. You know, you can do all that background stuff. Anyways, so we had someone here, our very first person, and he kind of put us on this crazy journey of like health and discovery. We were like healthy before, but not to that extent. He studied holistic health coaching or holistic health, I think it was. And yeah, so we cut out like basically all meat except for our own like chicken eggs. And then we went like mostly plant-based, cut out salt, anything to do with flour, so no bread, pasta, mostly organic. Yeah, as bare bones healthy as you can get. And then the biggest thing, alcohol. So me and Derek were in this, I don't know, tornado of like just including alcohol in our everyday lives. Okay, that sounds bad. Every weekend lives. But it became such a big part of our lives that it was hard to imagine our lives without it. And then when this person came and stayed with us for a whole month, it set us up for the perfect trajectory of health. And then during that time as well, we sold the cabin. So the housing market boomed in our area, and with all of this like farming and homesteading, it was like, what world do we want? Like, our younger selves would for sure go to the cabin, but now it's like we're focusing on building up our property and being self-sufficient. And that was it, and still is, the primary drive of our lives. So we weren't able to get to the cabin very often. It just seemed like a waste. And whenever we had to go, it was like, oh, we want to go to the cabin this weekend. And like, we enjoyed it, but there's just so much more to do at home. So we sold it, and we could not have sold it for, like, we would have never gotten the price for it if it wasn't for the housing market just booming, and then inflation of everything, honestly. So we hopped on it at the perfect time. We got it up and for sale within like 2 weeks or something, and it sold within a week. So from that, we were able to become mortgage free. There's more of a story. Just give me 2 seconds just to finish up with, now we're pregnant. So I do contribute our big health kick and us cutting out alcohol, because we were off of contraceptives for 2.5 years and nothing happened. And then all of a sudden we became our healthier, better selves, and then we conceived. So I'm 6 months pregnant right now. And yeah, that's all the exciting news. So now into the meat and potatoes of this. So how we became debt-free. So I'm going to tell this from my point of view. Derek is my wonderful husband, and he was a part of this process the whole way. I was a little bit more of the driving force, because Derek is just super happy and super content, and he loves his job. Yeah, so he didn't have the same like driver as me to like get out of my job that I despised. So that was my primary driving force. And then another little disclaimer in there, if you are wondering, through this whole process and ever since I've met Derek, he has his finances and I have mine, and it's the way we've just been. I don't know. It may seem really weird to some people, but it's what we do and we love it. So we have our bills that I've kind of split as best as possible down the middle. And then so he takes half, I take half. And then through this whole process of me, I'll tell you in a bit, but quitting my job and stuff like that, my main goal was to still keep up my end of the bargain and still be an equal contributor to this household. And then so I wanted to throw in there too, I think a little bit differently than other people, because my father passed away when I was 12 from a heart attack, and he worked and worked and worked and worked and worked, and I never saw him. And he was a saver, and his big goal was to also pay off his mortgage, and he passed away like just under a year of paying off his mortgage. So he never got to see that day. And it makes me so sad. And yeah, honestly, that's what drives my life and all my goals that I've put forward, and recognizing, I don't know, that the cycle of debt wasn't for me anymore, and that I wanted to break out of that. So that's kind of where I come from. Okay, so then 2017, I'm going to start the story here, and then I'm going to put little subtitles up so you can follow along. So 2017, got married. Weddings cost a lot of money. We were in debt, and then we had what's called a social before that, which also costed money. Yeah, so then we were in debt because of that, and then we went for a honeymoon, and then another honeymoon, and then yeah, and I was just kind of like really not that happy in my job situation, but I was like so much in debt that you have no choice. Like most of us, we're stuck. We're like, okay, well, I have to go to work because I need money because of, well, debt and expenses and food and all this stuff, right? I get it. And that's where I was at that point. And then I was making decent money, but I could see that a lot of my money was going towards paying off debt. And then on top of it, our grandparents came to us and said, you know what, we're selling the family cabin. And then me and Derek weren't having any of that. And we were young and stupid. So then we took what we made from our wedding and we put it into the cabin down payment for the cabin right away. We didn't even have enough for the down payment. We took the rest out of a line of credit, so went into more debt, and then it was just a cycle. It was insane. Oh, and then of course I was drinking in excess, like a lot, like probably every day, every second day. Not to get drunk, but like to get a buzz at least. I wasn't a happy person. And which is really sad because we just got married. But there was just so much debt does a lot to you. Owing money does a lot to you. And it's just like that crushing feeling. And then also like being stuck in your job is like this feeling that you're backed into a corner and you have no choice but to comply, right? So that's how I was feeling. 2018, I started kind of opening my eyes to the financial world and then minimalism and all that stuff. And basically I did everything all at once. So I said, screw this. I'm not going to be overweight and feel bad about my body anymore. I lost weight. I made myself a financial plan. I listened to podcast after podcast and I obsessed over getting out of debt. I made a spreadsheet. I gave myself a $200 allowance every 2 weeks. So it's like not much. And that was like to include some gas as well. So basically my dis-ease in my situation and my discomfort and my anger and my upsetment drove this change. 'Cause yeah, I was angry and I felt stuck and I hate that feeling. I just hate it. So that's what drove me to make all these big changes. And then I also took a look at what bills I was paying, what was necessary and what wasn't. Like, do I need all these subscriptions to things? Like, I think we just get in a cycle of spending money and just accepting debt. So yeah, there was that. And then I also, in 2018, I ramped up my side business. So I do custom portraits and custom artwork for people. Obviously art isn't a big money maker, but you can start whatever business you're passionate about, but I highly recommend that in the early stages because it can provide you with a little bit of income. And don't go like big or go home, go big or go home, or like you need to spend money to make money. Like think of a very frugal way to start a business, and if it slowly grows, just do it that way. Yeah, but I mean, you can do whatever you want, but that's what I did. And so by the end of 2018, so that was 12 months later, in total, and according to my spreadsheet, I had paid off over $27,000 in debt, which is crazy. So by the end of 2018, in 1 year, this is how stubborn I am, I basically paid off all of my high interest debt by the end of that year. Okay, so the beginning of 2019, I was out of debt and then high interest debt. So I still had my mortgages, the 2 mortgages, which is considered a lower interest debt. And a lot of people aren't worried about that. Like in the financial world, that isn't considered like a bad debt to have because it is low interest. But you can do whatever you want. I had this goal in my head that I just wanted to become debt free and I didn't want to have any payments on my debt anymore. So yeah. So the next step was to create a savings. You can call it whatever you want, a nest egg or a fuck you fund, whatever you want to call it. The idea is it provides you with money to fall back onto if anything were to happen. If you wanted to quit your job because you were whatever, if it wasn't resonating with you and it was causing you to be super stressed out or, stuff like that. And then I think they say it varies, but between 6 months to a year worth of bill money in that savings account. And then even that, it takes such a weight off of you. It's unbelievable. Yeah, I can't even describe it. Like money stress has been so just normalized that we don't even think about it. But it's unbelievable not to have any stress about money. In 2020, I was continuing to put into my savings account, and the plan is just to keep going. The pandemic started. And then so at that point I had already started researching about investing. And again, it became an obsession of like, how can I get into investing? And then I taught myself how to do it. It was just the matter of when I was going to jump into it. And then COVID hit and everyone started pulling out of the stock market. Stocks plummeted to like nothing. Well, something, but it went down a lot. And then so I'm like, okay, from my research, these are just stocks that are discounted, right? So, and then if you listen to like all the Warren Buffetts of the world, they tell you that you should be taking advantage of this time when the stock market is at a discounted price. Yeah, so then I was fairly confident. I put some, not all my money, but I put some money in there. And then, yeah, it ended up working out very, very well for me because the stock market did rebound fairly quickly. So it didn't take like 5-6 years, like an economic downturn. It took like a year and then everything shot back up. Thanks to the government's pumping the economy with money, and yeah, you know the story. So, yeah, so then COVID hit after that, and then my business was doing very good. Investments were doing very good. Had a savings. COVID hit. Things happened at work. The little things that were keeping me happy were no longer there. And, couldn't see coworkers. There's little outings and stuff that my work would do, and that was no longer a thing because of COVID. So yeah, it was just like super, I felt stuck again. And then, so that led me to end up quitting my job finally. And it is the scariest thing when you've gone to school, you've developed this career, you've been in a workplace for multiple years. I was over 6 years, I think. And then you make this decision, you're going to quit without like another job you're jumping onto. Like the amount of criticism you're going to get if you were ever in this situation, like maybe it was worse because I'm like, I'm going to quit my job to become an artist. People are like, oh, Lord help her. So I think that made it worse, honestly. But I don't know. If you ever have someone in that position, please support them because it is hard. I'm stubborn as heck, so I was okay, and I was like, it added more fuel to the fire to prove people wrong. I'm like, well, I'm gonna do it now. But some people aren't like that, and then they just get stuck in that constant cycle. And I feel for you. I do, because I've been there. And then, so 2021, basically after 2021, and then, so I quit my job there, and then I was doing anything I wanted for money. That sounds bad, but like I was doing my art. I came from the safety world, so I was doing a little bit of like health and safety consulting, and like it felt so good to work for myself. And like granting yourself that confidence and that permission to trust in yourself that you can make your own money by just being like a little creative. Like, yeah, and when you practice minimalism and frugality and you have a savings account, it becomes less scary. Trust me. So that's what happened there. And then 2022, which I already told you about, sold the cabin, and that granted us the opportunity to pay off the mortgage on the house and the cabin. So the 2 mortgages we had left, the only debt we had left, gone. So yeah, unbelievable. And I remember sitting in my office in 2017 at my last job, and I was just thinking about when I could get out of debt. And it became my like my goal, my dream, my obsession. I just wanted to be debt free. And my plan was that it was going to happen by the time I was 50 or 45, I think. And then looking back on my journals, I'm like, holy crap, I did it so fast. And a lot of it is taking the opportunities that are granted to you. So my situation probably cannot be replicated in your situation. But if you start you will see the puzzle pieces slowly falling into place. And it's not as scary when you get going and you provide yourself with that safety blanket of a savings account, and arm yourself with knowledge, and trust in yourself, and honestly have a partner too that trusts in you. And Derek was obviously a part of this whole thing. This is just, he's still in his job even though we're mortgage free and we have like nothing for bills. But now he's just in a saving mode where he's just gonna save up all this money for fun. Yeah, but he's very privileged that he loves this job. So all the power to him, and I'm proud of him. He also paid off all of his credit card debts when I was going through this too, because I was kind of the inspiration for him to also make these changes. So yeah, so now we are living sustainably on our acreage, on our homestead, and I'm 6 months pregnant, which I would have never thought that would happen. After 2.5 years of not conceiving, and then this happens, and then we're debt free, and we can, my primary goal is just to offer this life inside of me, like the best life possible and the most natural life possible, and show this life, this child, that they don't have to be a part of this system if they don't want to, that there are other ways. And that's what I'm hoping to share with you today. Not to say, hey, look at all the things that happened and now we're debt free, but like to provide some sort of inspiration and application so that you can take little bits and pieces with you today. And I hope there is even a little nugget of inspiration there for you. And I wish you all the best, and I hope that you start implementing these changes in your life as soon as possible, and you will never, ever regret it. Trust me, that going out to eat does not taste as good as being debt-free, in my opinion. So I love you. Thank you for listening. Sorry for the rant, but I'm glad to get this off my chest, and I hope you have a wonderful day.